Ahoy, mateys! This is Jolly Steve, and thanks for tuning in for another one of our tutorials. The subject of this one is the My Numbers page. You reach it off the dashboard you see here, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough, show you the features and functions that you can access on the My Numbers page. This page is the default page after you sign up. If you log in for your first time, you're going to come to the My Numbers page, and you're going to find the lines that you have configured during sign up. You don't have to have provided phone numbers and types of phones at the time that you signed up, but most people do. You'll find that you have the default set of robots. It's just randomly going to pick a robot, male or female. And if you're curious how to do, it says click for more and doing setup to your first time use of setup, then check out our tutorial. Specifically, if you're doing first time use setup for a landline or a VoIP line or Google Voice, then there's a tutorial for that about how to set up a landline. And it's getting started. Look for the getting started tutorial for landlines. And if you've got a cell phone, mobile phone, look for the getting started on mobile phones. So I'm going to just pick up today with providing more detail. I'll assume that you've seen those. And let me just give you a little more detail about what you can do from this page. So as you probably know from those other tutorials, if you click on anywhere on this line on something, it's going to open up with a box. For the first time you do it, you get a helpful box about testing your phone, which looks like this. It'll pop this up until you've successfully completed a test. I'm not going to spend time on this today because, as I say, that's in the getting started tutorials. But that's what that button's for. You can use that at any time. If you're ever wondering if your system maybe made a change, is it still working? You go to test my phone and you do that test. But there's other things that you can do. And I'm going to first of all start with this Google Voice line I use on my home computer. So let me just put that in. And that is a label you see here, and it'll appear over here. So let's just take a look at that. Okay, so I gave it a label. This comes in handy later on when you're using your call log because that label can be there in your call log for you, making it a little friendlier to understand. Like I have 3 lines here, so when I look at a call log, it can have calls from any one of those 3 lines. The label will help me to figure out which line it was all about. What else can I do in there? Well, you know what? When I signed up, I thought it was a Google Voice phone, and I made a mistake. So instead, I'm just going to call it a VoIP phone. So you can change the type of phone you want at any time. By the way, you can change the phone number as long as it's not a phone number that's already in use by somebody else. So I don't know, is this one in use? Then let's see. I mean, in use if they're already a customer of ours and this is already in our database, we won't let somebody take it and use it also. But if it's not in use, you can just change your phone number at any time. For your subscription. So let's try and update that. Wait a second. Okay, so I've got that, changed my number. I changed the label. What else is helpful? Well, you know what? I like to have a male voice. Be sure I'm going to get a male voice answer, so I'm going to pick a random male. Okay, so you see here, the robot I'm going to answer with is going to be a random male. Okay, so I've now changed that to really suit my bunch of my preferences, but let's just go back in there. Linked, you see here there's a field linked to Jolly Roger phone. So this is the phone on our system, in our data center. This is the phone that gets rang simultaneously every time the home phone rings here, this home computer phone. And this is set up, again, go to that getting started for landlines tutorial, and it'll show you how to set that up. So because it's simultaneously ringing every time this rings, it also rings this number. If it's a blacklisted call, I may not hear the ring at all, or I may hear a very short chirp before a pirate takes the call for me. But if I actually want to always hear a couple of rings, just to know that I did get a call, and maybe later on I'll go check on my call log and see what I got, but I can turn that on, and I'll know that I actually did get a call. Because I'll hear a couple of rings, but most people don't want to hear the rings, so they turn that off. This is only for using Google Voice. You will not worry about this field if you're doing any other, so I can just leave that empty or leave that blank. That will not get used on a VoIP phone or any other phone. It'll only get used on a Google Voice phone. And the spam threshold, says, how certain are we? We have a partner that provides us with a giant database, international database that they're constantly updating of who the bad guys are, who the telemarketers are. And every time you get a phone call, we check against that database to see what it says. And it scores them from 1 to 100 and 80. Well, from what we've seen, whenever somebody's scoring 80 or higher, we're very, very certain that that's a scammer. So that's a default threshold for us. You can lower it or raise it if you like, but we've had very good success with that default. So that's the kind of stuff that I can set up when I'm dealing with a landline or a VoIP phone. And if I'm done, well, let me update and it'll go away. But whenever you click on anything on this line, if I click here, it always opens this box. And if you just click again, it always closes the box. So click to open, click to close. Okay. I'm going to just point out to you that if you have a mobile phone, the settings are slightly different. Okay, you'll see all those same settings, but down here, the spam threshold, you have one other setting here, which I'm going to turn on because I like this a lot. Whenever somebody leaves me a message on Pirate Voicemail, then when I get that message, I can choose to have an email come, but I may not be at home or I may not have email on my cell phone, and maybe I just want to get a text. So I can have a text arrive, and when the text arrives, it'll include some transcription of the first couple of seconds of the phone call. So I'll have a sense of, even without listening to it, of what that phone call is about and whether or not that phone call was a scam call. Okay, so this is what you can set up for lines. Let me update that. Now, the other couple of things that you see here are robo receptionists. There's separate material on that, so I'm not going to get caught up in that. This is for business users. Okay, so it's for offices to use, not for personal use. And then you get a little summary of your active subscriptions. Summon a Pirate, you can look up that feature. That's the only feature that you have to pay extra for. Our annual subscription includes everything except for this, because this involves having us call you. We place an outbound call and phone companies charge us per minute. So we have a per minute charge of 4 cents a minute for that feature. So I'm not going to go into it any more than that. Some people really like it. It's a great way to bring on a pirate to a phone call in progress. If you, by mistake, you accepted a call from somebody and you don't want to talk to them, you bring on a pirate. Okay, now you can see the type of subscription that I have here, and it tells me when it's going to renew. And if I want to add, because I've got 3 phone numbers, but I actually want a 4th, then I'll go ahead and add a 4th number. There's some useful links here for logging out, getting my payment history, renewing my subscriptions, and some other helpful links. And that's what's on the My Numbers page. Okay, so thank you very much. Please check out the other tutorials that will cover these other dashboard pages. It's all, you can find them all by going to Help and Tutorials. Thanks a lot, and this is Jolly Steve. Gonna go take my pirate for a walk. Thank you and goodbye.